Welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be doing the CSEC Social Studies May June 2017 past paper 1. But if you're visiting the channel for the first time, go right ahead and pause this video and subscribe to the channel and turn on your post notification bell so that you are alerted when new videos are posted. Also, you can check in the description box below where you can have links to different videos that I have already posted. So let us get right into it. So let's look at our first question. Here we have items 1 to 3 refer to the following family tree. Now, according to this, key equal means being married. So let's look at it. So we have Peter Brown is married to Elsa Black, and they have 4 children: Ishmael, Ravid, Joy, and Emma. Now Ishmael is married to Nora Pink, and they have 3 children: Morris, who is married to Anne, Sonia, Leo, and Giselle. And Ravid and Joy, they have no children. And Emma is married to Sid Green, and they have 2 children, Lai and Trevor. So let us look at what the question says. The first question says, what relation is Morris Brown to Lai Green? Let's look at it. So Morris and Lai. So obviously they are cousins. So our answer would be B, cousin. Let's move on to question 2. What relation is Trevor Green to Peter Brown? Trevor Green to Peter Brown. So we have Trevor and we have Peter Brown. So Trevor produces Emma and Emma add Lai and Trevor. So obviously Trevor is grandson to Peter Brown. So B would be our answer, grandson. Let's move on to number 3. Here it says, Maxine Lewis lives with her unmarried mother and father. The relationship between her parents can best be described as A, friendly, B, conjugal, C, common law, D, compassionate. Well, using the method of elimination, we can take out A. Notice some key terms: unmarried. Now, when we think of the word conjugal, conjugal means being married. And common law, that is our answer. Common law relationship. So our answer is C. And option D would be out, compassionate. Let's move on to number 4. It says, which of the following statements best describes a conjugal family? A, one or both parents may be absent from the home. B, offspring have become adults and have left home. C, family relationship is developed through marriage. D, family relationship is developed through bloodlines. So we know conjugal have to do with the marriage. So right away we could discern that our answer would be C, family relationship is developed through marriage. Let's move on to number 5. It says, which of the following is not a typical feature of low-income families in the Caribbean? A, they are usually self-sufficient. B, their homes lack educational facilities. C, they often have a large number of children. Or D, the children are often economic contributors to the household. So we know that Low income. Notice it says not a typical feature of low income facilities. So our answer would be A, they are usually self-sufficient. That could not be of a low income family. They obviously are not able to care for all their needs. So A. Let's move on to question 6. Question 6 says, the custom of parents selecting future husbands and wives for their children is most closely associated with our ancestors from A, India, B, China, C, Africa, D, Europe. We know it is A, India, B, China, but to a larger extent, we would go with A, India. That is very dominant in India. Let's go on to 7. 7 says, which of the following would most likely result from women working outside the home? I, decline in family values. A, improved standard of, improve the standard of living. Higher self-esteem for women. So is it A, I and I only, or 1 and 2 only? B, 1 and 3 I's only? C, 2 I's and 3 only? Or D, 1, 2, and 3? Well, we know decline in family values. Yes. Is that a part of it? Obviously not, because it says most likely result from women working outside the home. What about 2, improved standard of living? Yes. And 3, higher self-esteem for women? Yes, we could say that. So we would go with 2 and 3. So women working outside of the home would more likely, of course, improve their standard of living, and they have greater self-esteem, higher self-esteem. So we would go with C. Some persons may argue that it may decline in family values, but it is not so oftentimes the result of that. So some persons may select D for their answer, but I'm going with C. Let's go on to number 8. Which of the following is least likely to, 1, important, to a man and woman who are planning to start a family? A, health, B, social status, C, financial status, or D, stable relationship? So I say, which one of the following is least likely to be 1, important source? So from our options, all of them could be selected, but the one that is least, less of all of the answers. So we're going to go with B, social status. So that is not necessarily important to start who are planning to start a family. That is not so important, but health, financial status, and a stable relationship are all very, very important. Let's move on to number 9. Which of the following is least likely effect of drug abuse on family life by one or both parents? A, physical abuse of children. B, increased rivalry among siblings. C, emotional tension among family members. Or D, insufficient money for children's education? Our answer would be B, increased rivalry among siblings. That would be least likely to be the effect of drug abuse? We know A, physical abuse of children would be. C, emotional tensions among family members could lead to the use of drug abuse. Or D, insufficient money for children's education. So our answer is B. This is least likely the effect of drug abuse on family life. Okay, let's go on to number 10. Here it says, the type of care associated with the elderly is described as A, geriatric, B, old folks, C, pediatric, or D, senescence. Well, we're going to go with A, geriatric. All right, let's go on to number 11. Which of the following is not a way by which traditional customs are kept alive in the Caribbean? A, archives consisting of local oral history. B, villagers organizing folk festivals annually. C, families practicing ancestral dances, regularly. And D, government supporting senior citizens' home. So we know it is, as the question says, not. So 3 are more likely. So 1 is not. So let's look at them. So A, archives consisting of local oral history. Yes, that can be shown, right? B, villagers organizing folk festivals annually. Yes, that is a means of traditional customs being kept alive. C, families practicing ancestral dances regularly. Yes. D, government supporting seniors. Well, that one is totally out. So our answer would be D. So that is the one that would not. Let's move on to number 12. Which of the following types of households in the Caribbean is most closely associated with ancestors who came from India? A, sibling, B, nuclear, C, extended, or D, single parent? We know it is a extended family, so C. Let's go on to number 13. Here it says, members of a formal group are more easily identified than those of an informal group because A, formal groups have written rules, B, members display similar behavior, C, members are likely to wear uniforms, or D, formal groups serve their communities. So we know our answer would be, because it says formal groups easily identified, and we know that would be C, members are likely to wear uniforms. For example, school children. All right, let's go on to number 14. Here it says, Ralph is the leader of his school's choir. He makes all group decisions without consulting his other group members. What type of leader is Ralph? A, democratic, B, participative, C, laissez-faire, or D, authoritarian. Here are some key terms. Leader makes all group decisions without consulting. So what type of leader? We know democratic leader involves others in the decision making. And we know participative, yes, and that is similar to democratic. C, laissez-faire, we know they do what they want to do. They function on their own. And D, authoritarian leader now is the one who makes the decision, does not consult anyone. They are the ones in charge. They are the boss, so to speak. They make the decisions and hand them down to the group members. So our answer would be D. Let's go on to number 15. Which of the following are characteristics of a strong leader? A, willing to make decisions. B, always keeps a serious face. C, always lenient with the members, or D, allows members to make their own decisions. Now, a strong leader. We know a strong leader, A, willing to make decisions? Absolutely, yes. Let's look at our other options to make sure that this is the correct answer. Always keep a serious face. That's not a characteristics of a strong leader. C, always lenient with members. Then if they allow their members to do, feel that, they allow them to do things and get away with it, then other members, there can be no order and regulations within that group. So C would be out, allows members to make their own decisions. What kind of group that would be with a leader like that? Absolutely chaotic, that would be. So our answer would be A, willing to make decisions. That's a strong leader. Let's go on to 16. Which of the following is the best example of a compromise? A, workers arguing in a cafeteria line. B, two students involved in a writing contest. C, a football team working together to win a match. D, a husband promising to clean the house while his wife does the cooking. Now we know when you think of the word compromise means that you're going to negotiate. You're going to find a common ground. That you can work things out between two persons. So let's look at our options. Now, workers arguing in a cafeteria line. There's no compromising, there's no negotiating take place there. B, two students involved in a writing contest. Well, a contest, you are competing, so none is not compromising or negotiating. Let's look at C, a football team working together to win a match. That's competition. No. D, a husband promising to clean their house while his wife does the cooking. Yes. So it is usually the wife's role to do the cleaning, but being that she's, cooking, then the husband decide to assist her to clean the house. Let's move on to number 17. The constitutions of Commonwealth Caribbean countries guarantee citizens freedom of conscience, expression, assembly, and movement. These freedoms are usually referred to as A, citizenship, B, civic duties, C, human rights, or D, independence. We know that is human rights. C. Let's go on to number 18. It says, Samuel broke one of the school rules. He was given 250 lines to write. The above is an example of a right, a right, B, norm, C, ritual, or D, sanction. Well, how do we assess to find out our answer? Well, when you think of a right, what's a right? Well, a right is usually a conduct that is either morally or socially correct. What is a norm? A norm is unwritten rules about acceptable behavior. What about ritual? Well, we know rituals are an action or ceremony performed in a customary way. For example, a religious ceremony. D, sanction. Well, we know sanctions are penalties for disobeying a rule or a law. So, therefore, if Samuel broke one of the school rules, right, there we have it. So, we know that it would be D, sanction. Let's go on to number 19. Here it says, in which of the following countries is proportional representation practiced? A, Guyana, B, Jamaica, C, Barbados, D, St. Vincent. So what is proportional representation? Well, we know proportional representation is an electoral system in which the number of representatives per party are directly proportional or allocated to the number of votes they receive or they win by. No, as we know that Jamaica, Barbados, and St. Vincent, they are first. So okay, let's stick to the question. Proportional representation. So Guyana, A. Let's not go into too much lengthy information. So A would be your answer. All right. 20. The plan proposed by political parties for managing a country is published in a document called A. Pamphlet, B. Manifesto, C. Magazine, or D. Constitution. So we know B would be our answer. Manifesto. That's the plan. And why, looking back at question 19, why did we say Guyana, as we know, Jamaica, Barbados, and St. Vincent, they are first past the post system. So Guyana is only proportional. So that is why we came to that conclusion. To keep it simple, let's move on to 21. A political campaign is a method used by political parties to A. Give voice to the people, B. Give donations to the needy, C. Encourage persons to vote, or D. Get funding from the public. So a political campaign, right? So what's the purpose of a political campaign? Isn't it to C. Encourage persons to vote? So C would be our answer. Let's go on to 22. It says, Caribbean countries where the Queen of England is the head of state may be described as A. Republics, B. Monarchies, C. Democracies, or D. Dictatorships. Once we hear Queen, we know it is monarchies. B. Let's go on to number 23. Here it says, which of the following is not normally dealt with by family courts in the Caribbean? A. Divorce, B. Child custody, C. Probate of wills, D. Alimony payments. Now, using the method of eliminations, probably you're not familiar with the word probate of wills, but you can use a method of elimination in answering this. We know divorce would be dealt in a family court. Child custody will be dealt in a family court, and alimony payments will be dealt in a family court. So the one that will be out will be C, probate of bills. Now, probate of bills is actually it's a verified copy to show that this document of a will is an official document. So your official validate it to give proof of it. So C would not be dealt in the family courts, probate of bills. Let's go on to 24. It says, the main function of a prosecutor in the judicial system is to A. Issue a summons to witness, B. Provide counsel for the defendant, C. Present arguments against the defendant, D. Determine the verdict at the end of a trial. So we know we are dealing with a court system. So who really is a prosecutor? Well, we know a prosecutor present arguments against the defendant. So C, that's the main function. Let's go on to number 25. Which of the following are items of expenditure for a government? 1. Salaries for civil servants. 2. Old age pensions. I, custom duties. So is it A, I, and I only, B, I, and I only, or C, 2 I's and 3 I's only, or D, I, and I only? So we know that it would be salaries for civil servants. Yes, that's an expenditure of government. Old age pensions. Yes, that's a expenditure for government. Custom duties, no, that one is out. We know custom duties are what the government gets from like shipping companies. So they get revenue. So expenditure for the government would be 1 and 2. 1 and I only. So A would be our answer. Let's go on to 26. Which of the following statements best describes the function of a government which follows the Westminster model? A. It rules a nation entirely by decree. B. It makes laws, interprets them, and enforces them. C. It makes laws but cannot interpret or enforce them. D. It makes laws, interprets them, but cannot enforce them. Well, we know the Westminster model is really a British, based on the British system. It's based on the British system. So, if that is the case, then if it makes laws, interprets them, and enforces them, it rules the nation entirely by decree, or it makes laws, interprets them, but cannot enforces them. Absolutely not. So it makes laws, interprets them, and enforces them. I'm going to go with B. So let's move on to 27. Which of the following are non-taxable sources of government revenue? A. Export earnings. B. Patents and license. C. Grants from donor agencies. Or D. Earnings on goods and services. So we know non-taxable. Export earnings are taxable. So the government get taxes. Patents and license. Oh, so our answer B would be non-taxable source of government. Let's look at C. Grants from donor agencies. Yes, that will be taxable. D. Earnings and goods and services. So we are going to go with B. Patents and license. Let's go on to 28. A country's constitution may be changed by A. referendum, B. National elections, C. National registration, or D. Local government elections. Well, a country's constitution may be changed by, not by a national election. No. Let's look at our options. C. National registration. No. D. Local government elections. No. So the only way a country's constitution can be changed is A. Referendum. What's a referendum? Well, a referendum, really, you could do some research on that and then you can get a full understanding. But referendum, this is when citizens in a country, they are required to vote on a particular matter. So that's what a referendum involves. So A. Let's go on to 29. Says, which of the following is not included in the written constitution of a country? A. Methods of taxation. B. Responsibilities of citizens. C. Powers and functions of officers of the state. Or D. Powers and responsibilities of parliament. So we know A. Methods of taxation. That is not included in a written constitution. A. Let's look at our answer options to be sure. So not because we selected A, we have to look at all our answer options because this is multiple choice. B, responsibilities of citizens. That is included in the written constitution. C, powers and functions of officers of the state. That is included in the written constitution of a country. D, powers and responsibilities of parliament. That is included also in the written constitution. So A, methods of taxation. Let's move on to 30. It says, Which of the following actions best demonstrates patriotism? A. Working at full capacity. B. Beautifying the surroundings. C. Participating in national events. Or D. Wearing colors of the ruling party. Well, what does the word patriotism means? Because in order for you to answer this question, you would have to know. Well, we know patriotism. The word patriot comes from that. And a patriot is one who is loyal, who is devoted to their country. So a person who is devoted to and ready to support, they will defend his or her own country. So let's look at our answer options now. Working at full capacity, that will be out. And look at our method of elimination also, D would be out. Wearing colors of the ruling party, that would be out. So we're left with B and C. Let's examine them. Beautifying the surroundings and participating in national events. Beautifying the surroundings, that could somewhat be a part of patriotism. But look at option C. Participate in national. National have to do with your country. You're more devoted. So that would be your answer, C. Let's move on to 31. Okay, so item 31 refer to the following table, which shows the population figures of 4 countries. All right, we have our area per square kilometer and our population 1995, the year 95. Now, country 1 had an area square kilometer of 750, the population of 70,000. Country 2, 100 square kilometer and population of 150,000. Country 3, 300 square kilometer and 100,000 population. And country 4 had an area square kilometer of 25,000 and the population of 150,000 in population. So what is it that we are required to do? Here it says, which country has the highest population density? So which country have the highest population density? So in order for us to know that, we'd have to divide the amount of population into our area per square kilometer. So country 1, we're going to divide 70,000 by 750 and we get 93 there. Country 2, 150,000 divided by 100, we get 1,500. Country 3, 100,000 divided by 300, we get 333. And country 4, 150,000 divided by 25,000, and we get 6. So obviously the one with the highest population density is country B. 2. That is it. So our population density, total population divided by our area square kilometer. Let's move on to number 32. It says, which country has the lowest population density? So our answer would be D because we got 6 for that. So D would be our answer. Let's move on to 33. Here it says, the term labor force is best defined as all persons who are A, under the age of retirement from work, B, qualified to work and are currently employed, C, qualified to work and are currently seeking employment, or D, employed and unemployed, qualified, willing, and able to work. So we know labor force, employed and unemployed, they are qualified, willing, and able to work. That would be your answer. All the others would be out. A, under the age of retirement from work, qualified to work and are currently employed. And C, qualified to work and are currently seeking employment. Those would be out. It involves D, encompasses all the answers. Let's go on to item 34, refers to the following graph, which shows birth rate according to gender for country Z. So we have our birth rate per thousand, and we have our year. And the unbroken line represent female, and the unbroken line represent male. Now, hear what question 34 says. It says, from the data given in the graph, it can be concluded that A, male birth rate has always been lower than that of females. Let's look at it. Male birth rate is always lower, has been always been lower than that of females. Absolutely not. No. Look at the male. It has not always. There are times when it exceeds the female. So answer A is out. Let's look at option B. It says female birth rate increased steadily between 1960 and 1990. Let's look at it. Increased steadily between 1960 and 1990. So 1960 and 1990. Female. No, it did not increase steadily. It fluctuates. It went up, then it came down. So it fluctuates. So it's not steadily. So B would be out. Let's look at option C. Says female birth rate reached its highest level around the mid 1970s. Let's look at it. So female unbroken, 1970s. Yes. See it here? It reached its highest peak in the 1970s. So option C would be correct. Let's look at option D, what it says. Male birth rate was higher than that of females between 1975 and 1980. So 1975 and 1980, male birth rate was higher. No, that is not true. So we got our answer. So let's move on to number 35. It says, which of the following contribute directly to a fall in the infant mortality rate? I, improved nutrition. I, vaccination against diseases. I, development of high-income housing. Is it A, 1 and 2 only? B, 1 eyes and 3 eyes only? C, I, and I only? Or D, I, and I? So what would be our answer here? So it says contribute directly to a fall in infant mortality. Improve nutrition. Improve nutrition. Yes. That would contribute to a fall in infant mortality rate. 2, vaccination against diseases. Yes. That would contribute to a fall in the death of infants. And 3, development of high income housing. Well, that is totally out. So our answer should involve 1 and 2 only. So A. Let's go on to number 36. It says, a country's population increase is calculated by finding the A, specific fertility rate, B, positive net migration, C, difference between birth rate and death rate, D, sum of the national increase and net migration. So the country's population increase is calculated by finding the difference between the birth rate and the death rate. So, and options C, let's move on to 37. The concepts. Why do we say that it's the difference between birth rate and death rate? Well, we know one, in order for us to find a natural increase, it have to be the birth rate exceeds the death rate. So that's how we find a natural increase. And so that's how we arrive at the answer. So let's move on to 37. The concept of push and pull factors are associated with A, migration of people, B, unemployment patterns, C, development of resources, or D, pollution of the environment. So our answer would be push and pull factors. We know have to do with migration. This is a simple This is an easy one. So our answer would be A, migration of people. Let's go on to number 38. An example of intra-regional migration is the movement of people from A, Jamaica to the United States, B, the United States to Montserrat, C, Anguilla to the United States, D, Trinidad and Tobago to St. Lucia. So what's intra-regional? We know intra refers to within the same region or area. So let's look at it. Jamaica to the United States, is that an intra movement of people? B, that would be out. B, the United States to Montserrat, because Jamaica to the United States, it's from one region to it's two different geographical regions, right? We know Jamaica is in the Caribbean and United States is in North America. B, the United States to Montserrat, out too as well. C, Anguilla to the United Kingdom, that is two different regions. D, Trinidad and Tobago to St. Lucia, that is the same within Caribbean region. So D would be our answer. Let's move on to 39. Which of the following factors would discourage emigration? A, high standard of living in the destination country. B, relaxed immigration laws in the destination country. C, availability of well-paid jobs in the country of origin. Or D, lack of economic opportunities in the country of origin. So we know it would be C, availability of well-paid jobs in the country. So if you have well-paid jobs in the country of your origin, then there's no need for you to move out of your country into another one. So C. So that one would discourage emigration. Let's move on to 40. Healthy individuals are beneficial to a country's development because such individuals are more likely to be A, less critical, B, satisfied and contented, C, self-sufficient and self-reliant, D, productive and effective workers. So healthy individuals says more likely are beneficial to a country's development. So A, less critical would be out. B, satisfied and contented would be out. C, self-sufficient and self-reliant. D, productive and effective workers. Because they are productive and effective workers. So the country's development, the country would certainly be developed and benefited from it. Let's move on to 41. Which of the following changes is least likely lead to the development of the human resources of a country? A, improved health services. B, increase in the cost of living. C, increase in the minimum wages. D, improved educational opportunities. So we would go with least, it says, least. So improve health services. So all the others, all three, they are possible answers, but the one that is least likely. So increase in the cost of living. That will least likely lead to the development of human resources in a country. So B, increased in the cost of living. Let's move on to 42. Here it says, which of the following is not a reason for a government to develop the human resource potential of a country? A, providing skilled and productive workers. B, familiarizing citizens with new technology. C, developing creative and innovative thinkers. D, supplementing the labor force of foreign countries. So it says, which of the following is not a reason for government to develop the human? So look at it. A, providing skilled unproductive workers. That would be a reason for government to develop the human resource. B, familiarizing citizens with new technology. That would be a contributing reason for government to develop the human resource. C, developing creative and innovative thinkers. Absolutely. That would be a cause for government to develop the human resource so that the country can be benefited from that. D, supplementing the labor force of foreign countries. That would be out. So that one would not be a reason. So why would they supplement labor force so that foreign countries be the beneficiary? That would be out. Let's move on to 43. Which of the following actions may be taken by an employer against workers during an industrial dispute? A, strike. B, sick out. C, lockout. D, work to rule. Well, it says employer, strike. So who can strike? The employee can strike. B, sick out. The employee can do a sick out on the employer. C, lockout. No, the employee cannot lock out the employer. So we know this would be the action that the employer can take to lock out the workers during an industrial dispute. So our answer would be C. And work to rule would be employee would be doing that. So our answer would be C. Let's move on to 44. Which of the following conditions does not contribute to unemployment? A, increase in exports. B, increase in population. C, closure of businesses. And D, inadequate educational facilities. So it says the following condition that does not contribute to unemployment. So it does not. So increase in exports. That would somewhat look seems like the answer does not. Let's look at our other options. Increase in population. That would contribute. Once we have an increase in the population, then that could contribute to unemployment. C, closure of businesses. So if businesses are closed, then persons will be out of a job. So that would contribute to unemployment. D, inadequate educational facilities. Also, that would contribute to unemployment. So our answer would be A, increase in exports. That would not contribute to unemployment. Let's move on to 45. Here it says, which is the most appropriate order of task for a job seeker? I, access qualification and experience for available jobs. 2, collect information about available job vacancies. Write job applications for the desired jobs. Is it A, 1, 2, and 3? B, 3, then 1, 2, then 1, then 3? Or C, 3, then 2, then 1? Or D, then double I's? Now, what would be our first thing? First, we'd have to collect information about the available job vacancy. That's the first thing that we would have to do. Then after you collect information, then you're going to assess your qualifications and experience for the available jobs. And then lastly, you write your application for the desired job. So the first one would be 2, then the next in line would be 1, and then 3. So 2, 1, 3. So our answer would be B. Let's go on to 46. So here we have a pie chart. It says item 46 is based on the following pie chart showing revenue earning industries in CARICOM. So we have petroleum, bauxite, manufacturing, tourism, and agriculture, fisheries, and forestries. So here what the question says. It says, which of the following statement is not true according to the information provided in the chart? A says the mining sector earns more than the manufacturing sector. So is this true? Did the mining sector, okay, mining sector is the same as bauxite. So did the bauxite sector earns more than the manufacturing sector? No. The mining sector earns more than The manufacturing sector, yes. Bauxite earn more. So that is not the answer options because mining did earn more. B says tourism, bauxite, and manufacturing combined earn more than petroleum. So tourism, bauxite, and petroleum earn more than tourism, bauxite, and manufacturing, earn more than petroleum. Yes. Okay. So that is not our answer options. So let's look at C. Bauxite and tourism earn less than petroleum, agriculture, fisheries, and forestry. So bauxite and tourism earn less. And tourism earn less than fisheries. Yes. So let's look at D now. So D would be your answer. Tourism and petroleum earn less than agriculture, fisheries, forestry, and manufacturing. So it says tourism, petroleum earn more than agriculture, fisheries, and manufacturing. So this one is not true. So this one is not true. So A, B, and C are truthful, but D is not true. So our answer options would be D. Tourism and petroleum earn less than agriculture, fisheries, forestry, and manufacturing. So that is not true. So all the others are true, but this one is not true. It did not earn more than the other industries. Let's go on to number 47. Which of the following statements is true about marine life in the Caribbean? It is a renewable resource. It is a renewable resource. It is an unlimited resource. It has no use as a tourist attraction. It is not important to persons' diet. So, what would be your answer? It would be, notice it says marine life. So it would be a renewable resource. Would be a renewable resource. Let's move on to 48. It says most Caribbean countries remain producers of primary products mainly because A, they are agriculturally based, B, they possess few mineral resources, C, their labor forces are largely unskilled, D, they lack the means to process their resources. So 48, what would be? So Caribbean countries, they have the means, they have the resources, right? But let's look at our options. They are agricultural based. No. B, they possess few mineral resources. No. That's not the main reason why we produce only primary products. Because C, their labor forces are large and unskilled. No, we have very skilled workers. D, they lack the means to process their resources. That would be our answer. We do, like for example, we do produce um, like the bauxite mining company, but we do not have we have the raw materials. We do have the raw materials to produce the primary product. But what is it? Is that we lack the means to process it. We don't have certain technological equipment to process it. So as a result, we only are able to produce the primary products. So we do have raw materials, but we lack the means to process it. 49. Which of the following methods of fishing is most damaging to the ecosystem? A. Setting of fish pots. B. The use of dynamite. C. Trawling the seas and oceans. D. The dropping of seines and nets. The setting of fish pots. That would be out. That's not most damaging to the ecosystem. B. The use of dynamite. Yes, that could be damaging. Let's look at C. Trawling the seas and oceans. That could be damaging too, because really trawling the sea, trawling is like a large fish net that they throw behind the boat, and it catches and pull all different types of fish. So whether the fish is young, large, small, even little fish, baby fish, it catch. So that could be damaging to the ecosystem, because those fish should really be left in the sea. And D, the dropping of seines and nets. All right, so we are left with option B and C. So this may be arguable, but I am going to choose. Let's go with C. Some persons may say D, B, the use of dynamite, but that one is very debatable, so to speak. Let's move on to question 50. Renewable physical resources may provide energy in the Caribbean for years to come. One example for renewable physical resources: A, coal; B, wood; C, petroleum; D, natural gas. So we know this one is a giveaway. It would be wood. Renewable physical resource. Let's move on to 51 now. Which of the following CARICOM groups is made up of prime ministers, executive presidents, or chief ministers? A, the Secretariat; B, Common Market Council; C, Standing Committee of Ministers; D, Heads of Government Conference. All right, we know it would not be the Secretariat. B, Common Market Council. That one would be out to C, Standing Committee of Ministers, or D, Heads of Government Conference. So we know once it is CARICOM groups, then we know it is the Heads of Government Conference. So our answer would be D. So that one is a giveaway. CARICOM groups: Prime Minister, Executive Presidents of Chief Ministers, Heads of Government Conference. Let's move on to 52. Which of the following is the most important aim of the trading arrangements within CARICOM? A, to promote economic development in the region; B, to increase the markets and revenue of larger territories; C, to ensure that goods from outside the region become cheaper; or D, to increase travel. Lost that page. Right, here we go. Sorry. To increase travel and contact among the people of the region. So it says, which of the following is most important aim of the trading arrangements within CARICOM? So we know it is the trading arrangements of CARICOM is to promote economic development in the region. A. Let's move on to 53. It says, which of the following factors hinders cooperation among CARICOM states? A, common economic policies; B, the challenge of globalization; C, competition for foreign capital; or D, difference in cultural traditions. So we know that it would be competition. Common economic policies, that would not hinder or prevent cooperation from it would be competition. Competition for foreign capital, that would hinder or prevent or cooperation from CARICOM states. So C would be our answer. Let's move on to 54. Says, which of the following institutions of CARICOM is responsible for the economic activities of the community? A. Common Market Council. B. Standing Committee of Ministers. C. Heads of Government Conference. Or D. Conference of Agriculture Ministers. So, this would be A. Common Market Council. B. Standing Committee of Ministers. I'm torn between A or B. This one is okay. I'm gonna go with A. Let me know in the comment section below if you think it's A or B. 55 says, if a CARICOM country imposes restrictions on CARICOM products, which of the following provisions of the treaty is being violated? A. Rule of origin. B. Liberalization of trade. C. Special regime of LDCs. Or D. Common external tariff. So we know it would be the liberalization of trade. So if they impose restrictions on CARICOM products, this one would be affected, liberalization of trade. Let's move on to 56. It says, which of the following factors is intended to promote trade among CARICOM member states? A. Variety of currencies by CARICOM countries. B. Removal of duties on regional goods and services. C. Importation of low-cost goods from countries outside the region. D. Production of similar goods and services in various member states. Our answer would be B. Removal of duties on regional goods and services. As I say, following factors intended to promote trade among CARICOM member states. Removal of duties on regional goods and services. Let's go on to 57. Here it says, globalization is characterized by all of the following except the A. Migration of skilled labor. B. Establishment of trade links around the world. C. Creation of jobs as a result of foreign investment. Or D. Use of low levels of technology in the production of goods. So we know that 3 are and 1 is except. So which one is it? So we know migration of skilled labor. That is characterized by globalization. B. Establishment of trade links around the world. Yes. C. Creation of jobs as a result of her. Yes. So they all except D. So D. Use of low levels of technology in the production of goods. That is the one that is except. Except that one. All of them are except that. 58. Which of the following is the main reason for trade conflicts which sometimes arise among CARICOM countries? A. Lack of natural resources in many of the islands. B. Low level of industrial development in each territory. C. Reluctance on the part of some governments to permit freedom of government. Or D. Competition for markets when several countries manufacture identical products. So it says the main reason for trade conflicts. So lack of natural resources in many of the islands, that would cause conflict. But that would not be the main reason. B, low levels of industrial development in each territory. No. So looking at our answer options, competition, this is what would cause trade conflicts. Competition for markets when several countries manufacture identical products. So that would be the main reason for trade conflicts. Let's look at 59. Item 59 refers to the following statement. CARICOM countries need to pool their skilled human resources. The most likely result of such action would be A. A speeding up of the rate of brain drain. B, a reduction in the need for foreign experts. C, a reduction in workers' wages and salaries. D, an increase in the spending of foreign exchange. So we know that our answer would be B, a reduction in the need for foreign experts. So that is the most likely result of CARICOM countries needing to pool their skilled human resource. So they come together because there's a reduction in the need for foreign experts. Let's go on to question number 60. Our final question says, economic integration as part of CARICOM's main objectives aims primarily at A, nationalizing CARICOM's existing tariffs, B, limiting outside access to CARICOM products, C, accelerating development in CARICOM countries, or D, reducing the debt owned by CARICOM member states. So our answer would be C, accelerating development in Caribbean countries. So that is it. We have come to the end of CSEC Social Studies, June 2017, past paper 1. Don't forget to like, share, leave a comment below, and subscribe to the channel. And check in the description box to see links to other videos that I have already posted. So until then, we'll see you in the next video.